Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing a way too early 2024 mock draft. Yes, you've seen a bunch already because a lot of other NFL content creators like yourselves are trying to find ideas to do during this kind of slow summer month before the schedule comes out. So we're going to do one now also, maybe see if we can mix it up a little bit as well. The 2024 class is going to be a lot of fun. Supposedly a lot of great talent. It's Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. And so I'm sure we'll be saying their names here very soon. But before we get into the draft, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ring the bell to get notified when we create new content. Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 2,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. And that means that there will be a lot more content coming from the Tracy Take channel. So if you want to see content about your team, some of the latest news or latest predictions about what the team might do or some of the wins or losses, be sure to subscribe so you can see when we create new content. And Ryan, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Ryan, explain a little bit about what we are doing tonight.
Yeah, so we are doing, like you said, a way too early 2024 mock draft. We are using PFF's board and order for the teams, as obviously the 2024 draft order is yet to be decided. So we're using that. We're doing no trades. However, we're doing that with one stipulation where we are going to do one trade that we will probably start talking about here very shortly. And then, yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anything else to really get into. So let's go ahead. Let me share my screen here. And then, all righty.
All right. Also, special guest, Marilyn Manson, right here.
Marilyn
Monroe. Marilyn Manson's over here. Actually, never mind. So,
yeah.
But
Marilyn Manson's over there.
I know, yeah. He just peeked up around my corner.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yes, the one trade that we're going to include is in this scenario is the Cardinals obviously got the first pick from the Houston Texans here, and they are projected pretty unanimously to be the two worst teams going into this season. So they probably will have a couple of top picks, which is a huge benefit for the Cardinals. I talked about this in our draft review for the Cardinals. I love this pick as well because in this specific scenario, they're now going to get even more future draft capital from this, and they won't even have to go down too far. And in this scenario, if this scenario were to happen, I can almost guarantee that the Cardinals are going to trade this pick because you can, and if you scroll down a little bit, Ryan, on the teams that are in the top 10, in this scenario, Bucks are looking for a quarterback. Washington's looking for a quarterback because Sam Howell probably did not go well. You can make an argument about the Packers getting a quarterback if they don't like Jordan Love. They also, we saw the Raiders are picking at 7. Going to need to eventually find a plan to work out with moving on from Jimmy G. Maybe they can do the same scenario as what they did with Trey Lance and San Francisco. And also the Rams were picking at 9. So in this scenario, I absolutely love the Cardinals draft capital that they are going to be getting back. But here we talked about this before on who we'd want to mix it up. And we went with the Raiders actually for multiple reasons. One, they're in the AFC. Also, two, we felt like the Cardinals, with how good this draft class is, feel like they could get as much draft capital back as possible. And Ryan, we debated a little bit about this. And so leave a comment on what you think the Cardinals would get in a trade here, because I'm of the opinion that it'll probably be 3 first-round picks for the future, 25, 26, 27, and then some, and then mixing some up, just because of how much better, as of right now, Drake May and Caleb Williams are amongst the rest of the quarterbacks, and the number of teams that need a quarterback in this situation that are within draft range. And if you look at the Raiders, they did a lot of offseason moves in 2023 to try and build this team up for the future. And they were competitive last year. They had a lot of one-loss games. I think that they would make the most sense, and also the team that the Cardinals would want to do a trade with, because they're in the AFC. Cardinals do not have to worry about them. But with the Bucks or Washington or Green Bay or even the Rams at 9, they would probably have to see them multiple years in a row.
Yeah. And so like for me, I don't know. It depends on how far they go back. I think if the Raiders make this trade, they get 3 first-round picks. But if the Commanders make this trade, I think it's only 2. Right. And so I think in this draft, granted, this draft was definitely more of a buyer's market than a seller's market. But I think you look at the top end of this draft, and I think GMs are getting a little bit more stingy with the picks that they trade, especially for non-proven assets, right?
Yeah.
So I think
It,
that'll be interesting. But let's go ahead
I,
and make this trade here.
yeah.
Oh
And so in this, as you can see, I don't think we can even go to 2026 yet on
no,
the thing, but we have the Raiders trading up, getting their future quarterback here, franchise quarterback. And we're going with Caleb Williams here with this pick. I remember it was last season. I hadn't watched too much USC football because living on the East Coast and Central time zone. I'm normally in bed even on the weekends now.
yeah,
And as a
yeah,
father, like by 9 o'clock, so I don't watch too many Pac-12 games. And one night we were here, we were just up watching a USC game. I'm like, is that Patrick Mahomes out there? He has such a Patrick Mahomes vibe, and with his improvisation, the way he can run around, throw the ball from different slide angles, be very creative with the ball, create space, and create opportunity for his receivers to create space. And we saw this a lot also with Jordan Addison then transferring over to USC and some of the success from there. I think he's going to be a great quarterback, and it's nothing against Drake May, and who knows, a lot can obviously change. But I think Caleb Williams in this system right here, him with Devontae Adams, Michael Mayer now, Jacoby Myers, I think that it would be and then Josh Jacobs in the backfield if they re-sign him and give him an extension after the franchise tag. I think that backfield and those skilled player positions would be crazy.
yeah. No, I mean, Caleb Williams is not a quarterback prospect that you see every year, and I would love this fit with Josh McDaniels here. Caleb Williams is very smart. He's run a couple different types of systems. I know he's been with Lincoln Riley the majority of his career, but
Yeah.
I think Caleb Williams comes in day one starter, really solid guy there. Moving on though now to number 2, a team that just traded out of the first round pick. The first overall pick. They're gonna pick here at number 2. I'm gonna go with Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, probably the best, if not one of the best, just overall football players in this class, right?
Well, and I'm trying to
He,
think.
he-
Our first year was the Trevor Lawrence year when the
yeah,
Tracy Take started,
that was Jamar
and
Chase.
that was Jamar Chase, and I'm thinking. And of course, it was a COVID year, so we didn't get to see Jamar Chase play in 2020
Mhm.
in that college year. And so maybe it's recency bias, but he's one of the best receiving prospects that I can ever remember seeing. And I think that's up there
Yeah,
in the likes of Calvin Johnson as well. I mean, you throw Jamar Chase up in there, AJ Green, Julio Jones, like those are just recent ones. I'm absolutely sure I'm missing other great receiver prospects as well. But
yeah.
dude's insane.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, fantastic receiver. He's a true outside guy, and we saw what he did to Georgia's defense in the national championship semifinal. And he's a plug and play outside number 1 outside wide receiver, right? And
Yeah.
that's really hard to come by in a draft. And Jamar Chase, I think, was drafted at 5, and I don't see a reason why Marvin Harrison could not be drafted at 2. In a realistic world, I don't know why he couldn't be drafted at 1, right? Like,
You, you know what's funny? We had someone trade, like we had them trade up at 1. You're absolutely right. They could take Marvin Harris Jr. at 1. And
yeah,
then I guess maybe the only benefit is maybe they get to pay him a little bit less instead of being the first overall pick as a second
yeah,
overall pick. Like
no, yeah,
if they want to save a couple $100,000. So
yeah,
I guess that's the
exactly.
only real thing. But
So
they absolutely could do that as well. So let's move on though now to the next pick, the Buccaneers. And one reason why we're doing this, you'll get to this in a second. You see the hat that Ryan's wearing. The Patriots here are picking in an even number at 12. I'm a Falcons fan, so I will be doing all the odd picks because the Falcons are picking at 13, and Ryan will be doing the even. So we will be going back and forth. And here,
yeah,
Buccaneers, they in this scenario, they tried the Baker Mayfield experiment and the Kyle Trask experiment, and it did not go well in this scenario. So they need a new franchise quarterback here, and Drake May is far and away the best one here available.
oh
And so
yeah,
I need to watch Drake May a little bit more. I'm really looking forward to this college season now. Uh, also, too, for dynasty purposes, I've started playing dynasty football a lot. Love dynasty football, but so I want to see this because my team is not good right now. So I'll probably be taking a quarterback in my dynasty league, and also then for this purposes with the Tracy Take show, looking forward to watching more North Carolina games because he is. We talked about Sam Howell as well as a potential quarterback, and he's getting a start now with Washington. Drake May supposedly even better. So, and
Yeah.
Sam Howell was taken to the 5th round. Drake May here is going to be taken 3rd overall.
Well, Sam Howell was a projected first-round pick coming into that season.
Well, yeah, just like Drake May. So he could also fall as well. So very, very interesting to see. But in this scenario, I mean, Bucks are going QB all the way.
Yeah. And moving on to the Indianapolis Colts here, I think this is a dream scenario for them. They got Quentin Nelson, the left guard from Notre Dame, generational guard prospect. Now I think they're going to get Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame, generational left tackle prospect. I mean, he graded out ridiculously well in 2022. So Joe Alt, I think they need that left tackle spot filled, and I think they go with Joe Alt.
I like it. So up now then to the Commanders as well. And there's a lot of different needs here. And so as of right now, you could maybe go quarterback here. I mean, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, Quinn Ewers. But I also think, too, just with some of their other needs, and they're going to be picking early in the 2nd round anyways. So I actually have them going a different route here. Oh, shoot. Whoops. Sorry. Where is this going? There we go. Got it now. So I have them actually going an edge rusher in Jared Verse here. Chase Young's 5th-year option was not accepted. He has obviously had some injury concerns and didn't really play too much this past year. So I'm wondering maybe if they're going to move on from him. Keep Deron Payne. Is it Josh Allen? No. Jonathan Allen.
Jonathan Allen. Josh Allen is the edge rusher for the Jaguars.
That's it. I knew I was getting it mixed up. And so I think they're going to move on from Chase Young, let him walk in free agency, and then pick up Jared Verse here as well, top edge rusher. That's off the board. So a lot of different routes they could go. Also Kool-Aid McKinstry. The coolest name, I will say. I think that has ever been said on the Tracy Take podcast. So looking forward to when he gets drafted. That'll be fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jared Verse, really talented edge rusher. He kind of took over that Jermaine Johnson role from 2021 into 2022 after Johnson was drafted. I like that there. Interesting decision not to pick up Chase Young's 5th-year option, but we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Moving on now to the Green Bay Packers. I am going to do – did the Packers address the tight end position in the –
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Luke Musgrave and then
Luke Musgrave, that's right.
Tucker Kraft.
Yeah. So as far as the middle of the field goal goes, I think they're probably pretty good. And I think they actually might pass on Brock Bowers here. I'm actually going to go with Olu Fashanu, the tackle from Penn State. David Bakhtiari is getting up there in age. They need to improve that offensive line play. And I hate to pick 2 tackles in a row and be that guy, but I'm going to go with Olu Fashanu here from Penn State.
I mean, it's a great pick. I think he is the guy. He was potentially talked about coming out this year, but he wanted to go back to Penn State. And when he was coming out, or when there was talks of him potentially coming out, they were saying like he potentially could be the first tackle taken off the board in front of Paris Johnson Jr. But he wanted to come back. Very curious to see how that's going to work out with him. He is a great tackle. I'm sure he's going to have a bunch of highlights against Indiana. And how great he is, because every Big Ten team has that. So moving on, though, now to the Cardinals and their 2nd pick. They got this pick with a trade with the Raiders. So picking that number 7 here, a bunch of different ways that they could go here. Brock Bowers, I'm not taking him here, just to be clear. However, this will be one of the interesting things on his draft stock and where he's going to be taken. If he stays up this high, this elite, this is like how he has been, where is he going to be taken here? I could absolutely see him being taken here. But I actually have them going with the coolest name that I just said, Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. They could go so many different routes. They could go J.C. Latham. They could go with Olu Fashanu as well. But they just drafted Paris Johnson Jr., so I think maybe double dipping in back-to-back years at tackle might be a little much. Maybe they could. They absolutely could do that. But I'm actually going to have them go on the opposite side of the ball and go at cornerback here.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely could. Buda Baker has also requested a trade along with DeAndre Hopkins. So in their first 2 picks, they are addressing both positions that they just traded away. So that's good to see that they're going to replenish those positions.
Well, and if you look at this year's draft as well, they address the interior, or the trenches just in general, a lot. So I think then this year's class is going to be more on the skill position players on the outside of the ball. Still absolutely could get some more offensive line help.
Yeah.
absolutely. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see.
No, yeah, definitely. But moving on now to the Tennessee Titans. Uh, I think this one's pretty easy, and let me know if you agree with me. But Brock Bowers to the Titans to me just makes so much sense. The way that they want to play really physical. I
Yeah,
think you look at his ability to line up in line and then still explode with breakaway speed. I think
yeah.
it is fantastic. And yeah, I really like Brock Bowers here.
I like it a lot. I think that I was just going this here. I missed somebody. Um, I really like that pick a lot. Even in the whenever the post Derrick Henry time for Tennessee comes, I
Mhm.
still feel like that's just kind of the philosophy of how Tennessee wants to play is that smash mouth football. And then with a quarterback like Will Levis as well, who's similar to Josh Allen, you're going to want to have, and also the identity of Mike Vrabel as well, is have a strong offensive line, win in the trenches at all costs, run the
Mhm.
ball, and then have things open up. That will make things open up in the air. And that is like Brock Powers to a T.
Yeah.
He like what they did in Georgia, a lot of run focus, but then he was over there over the middle. He's essentially a giant slot receiver as well. So it's very curious to kind of see how he does in this situation. I can absolutely see Tennessee jump on him because they need another outside weapon outside of Treylon Burks. They did not address that at all, really, in free agency. So moving on now to the Los Angeles Rams here, a lot of different ways that they can go. And so I'm going to have them actually going. Once I still think that they're going to be rebuilding. They got a guard this year with their first pick and Steve Avila. I think they could still address the offensive line here as well. I'm going to have them go with J.C. Latham, a tackle from Alabama. So I think that the team is still going to want to address the offensive line
Mhm.
continuously, and they maybe could go quarterback here, but Matt Stafford's still only in his um, like early to mid 30s. They did get Stetson Bennett in last year's draft as well, so maybe they'll kind of see how he keeps developing. I think that there is some potential there with Stetson Bennett. Probably not, but I mean, you never know. So stick with the offensive line because I think that they need to get back to that. Like that is their winning ways as well.
No, yeah, that's for me. I like that pick. He's a really solid offensive lineman. He played mostly right tackle for them this year, but it looks like he's going to kick over to left now that Tyler Steen is gone, as well as I think he's a more athletic version of what Tyler Steen brings to the table. So I
Yeah.
like that one a lot. Uh, the next one I'm going to do is might be a little bit of a reach, but I'm going to go with. Oh, I just saw him. I,
What position do you think here?
D, I guess he's an edge. It says D lineman. Uh, oh, there he is, right there, Mason Smith.
Okay.
So it says edge, but he's about 6'5", 300. But I think he's really going to be a nice interior pass rusher for the Bears and kind of be what they want him to be, is this inside wrecking ball type of thing for this Matt Eberflus led defense. I like that pick. He has really good hands, and he's a pretty for a guy that big. He's really athletic. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that pick. I mean, and the Bears had one of the worst defensive lines this
yeah.
past year. They addressed it a lot in the
Mhm.
offseason as well. And so they went with edge rusher there. And I'm going to take a little bit of a different turn here. I know that they took, I believe, was it Tyler Scott or was it Trey Tucker? I,
I
I think
thought
it
they
was
got
Tyler.
Tyler Scott.
I think it was Tyler
Yeah.
Scott. I kept getting them mixed up here, but I know they took Tyler Scott last year. I know Darnell Mooney is their current guy in the slot, but Mika Egbuka is like if it wasn't for how great Marvin Harrison Jr. is, like we would be talking about him being like one of the number one receivers because like they're that good of a tandem, and I
Yeah.
think he's gonna have a great year once again just because. But it's not gonna be talked about as much because Marvin Harrison Jr. is that freaking good, and I think that he would fit really well into the spare system that they want to have. Then you have DJ Moore. Now you still have Chase Claypool. And then also you're going to have Cole Kmet as the tight end here. Also, if Brock Bowers fall, definitely a position here where I think the Bears could take Brock Bowers. But I'm going to go with the Mika Buka since Brock Bowers fell.
Yeah. That no, I definitely could see that. I mean, that would be uh that'd be a really solid pick for them there. So
Oh, yeah.
um next up are the Patriots. I am trying to think of which direction I want to go. Because to me, I look at the Patriots. They filled in the cornerback slot. They drafted 2 wide receivers, but they're later round flyers. But we'll see how that goes. And then uh, they have that opening at left tackle after next season, when Trent Brown leaves. But there's not really a tackle left on the board that I'm super fond of, right? So that would be a classic trade back scenario. But since they're not trading back, I still think edge rusher might be a bit of a need. And so I'm gonna go with um, Chop Robinson from Penn State. They don't usually draft Penn State guys, but he graded out really well last year, and yeah, I'm gonna go that direction. He's more of an outside linebacker who has some pretty decent pass rush moves, and I think he might be in the Nolan Smith category in terms of athleticism. He's just super athletic, so I like that pick there.
That's good. I like it. Now on to my Falcons here, who I think if they ever put best player available to the truest definition of the form, I think they proved that they did that this year by taking Bijan Robinson at number 8 overall. And they have only taken offensive skill players in the first round over the past 3 years with this kind of new regime. And I think there's going to be a change this year. I think they're going to step away from the offensive side of the ball and actually finally address some of the pass rushing woes if they have not hopefully been continued a little bit here. But most edge rushers from Alabama do decently well, or defensive linemen. So seeing Dallas Turner there, I think is going to be a great pickup for the team. So I could absolutely see them. I mean, there's next 3 players right there, Jeremiah Trotter and Kalen King, could also easily have gone that round as well, because especially at the linebacker position. But Dallas Turner, though, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does this year, especially with Will Anderson moving on. Huge opportunity for him to step up. A lot of sacks that are out there for the taking for him.
Yeah, no, definitely. Him and Chop Robinson, I think, are pretty similar to me. I think they're both that like 6'3", 240, 245 pound edge rusher, outside linebacker type. So I think that would be a really solid fit. As far as the Giants go, I actually don't think the Giants need a whole lot. They definitely need wide receiver help, but there's not a whole lot of guys. I'm not a huge fan of Xavier Worthy. He's that Devontae Smith build, but not quite as explosive. And so there's not a whole lot of wide receiver talent that I'm super in love with here. So I'm going to go with Jeremiah Trotter, the linebacker, sure up the middle of that defense. I think they were definitely one of the teams that were in the running for Jack Campbell this year. And I think Jeremiah Trotter can come in and make a difference on that team.
I like it. Moving on now to the Broncos. I'm going to make kind of our first bold prediction here. And so this will be the first year in Sean Payton's head coaching regime with the Denver Broncos here. And I am going to say that Russell Wilson doesn't impress him enough, and they are going to start to find his next successor here. And so you could maybe go Michael Penix Jr. However, he is older and has had injury history. Unfortunately, as Hoosier fans, we know all about those injury histories, unfortunately. So, but I am actually going to go with Quinn Ewers, QB from Texas here. I think he's going to have a much improved year, second season under the Steve Sarkisian system. And I think that Texas could actually play a shot here, I think, for winning the Big 12 and competing in the playoffs potentially here. I think he's going to take a huge step forward. He has the potential. And I think then putting him under, even if he's behind Russell Wilson for a year or two, I think can help out a lot with his development with Sean Payton kind of overseeing him. So that's going to be kind of the route that I think the Broncos go in this scenario.
Yeah, and so Quinn Ewers has kind of been this big mystery because he was the talk of the town, right, coming out of high school, and he just hasn't really caught on yet. And so hopefully this year he can catch on. Kind of the reverse of that scenario, I think, is Michael Penix Jr. And I think the Seahawks are going to invest in him here. Michael Penix Jr., you kind of mentioned, had that injury history, but I think that this last season, he really showed he can sling the rock at a really high level. And if you can keep him healthy, he has a really, really high ceiling. And I don't want to say he might be the best quarterback from this class, because that might be a little bit of a stretch. But I think you definitely have an above average Pro Bowl potential quarterback here in Michael Penix Jr. And I think the Seahawks are going to take that risk on him.
Okay, I like it. Keep him in the state of Washington, and if you kind of
Yeah.
look at it too, similar style of play, I would say with Geno Smith as well. I
Yeah.
would think he is a little bit, and honestly, and
He's
you kind of say they have a similar kind of career path. Michael Penix is a little bit older. I think he's going to be 24 coming into the season now. Geno Smith
mhm.
took him several years to kind of get to this opportunity. So I also think, too, like you said, have a cannon. They like decently accurate with the throwing or with passing, and I think give
Yeah.
him a couple years and he can kind of groom behind Geno Smith. And then we'll just kind of have to wait and see. So I think he'd fit the Seattle system well, also. So moving on now with the Steelers. Now we're getting to the point. I mean, they could go so many different ways here. So I
Yeah.
think that they're going to keep kind of rebuilding the secondary, something that they were wanting to do, and they did end up getting Joey Porter Jr. as well, but still wanted to keep starting to rebuild it a little bit. I am thinking though that they're going to go with the safety position as well. So I'm going to go with the top safety that is on the board, and Cameron Kitchens from Miami. So I think they got Joey Porter Jr. They lost Cameron Sutton as well. They still have not. They have Minka Fitzpatrick that's back there. I think just adding depth, adding good quality depth. Because if you look at it, that front seven. I mean, maybe they could go linebacker here as well if Jeremy Trotter falls. But I mean, that front seven in general, though, on the defense is like stout. It's stat. So I think then getting more talent in that secondary could be the route that they could go. They could potentially go tackle as well. I mean, as we see, Kingsley, Sal Matia. Sorry if I'm sure I mispronounced that.
I have no idea how to pronounce someone either. So
But he sounds like a scary, intimidating dude. So I'll just leave it at that. So let's move on though now to the Vikings pick.
yeah. So here with the Vikings, they need a lot on the defensive side of the ball. And, lucky for them, there is a lot of that. So I'm actually going to go with the best corner on the board, and that's Kalen King from Penn State. This cornerback class, I don't think is as deep as the 2023 class, but I think it's going to be a pretty solid corner class. So definitely investing in that heavily, I think would be a solid move for the Vikings and their newly acquired defensive coordinator, Brian Flores.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So here at the Texans' first pick in a trade with Cleveland, one thing to note here, I like PFF has Cleveland making the playoffs. I think that's very interesting, just as a little side note here.
Yeah.
But very possible. I think it just goes to show how absolutely deep the AFC is. So, but Texans here, they did get Tank Dell. They do have CJ Stroud now as their quarterback here, and they're going to absolutely have to manage with some of the lack of weapons that they have this year. And so, with that being said, in this first round, there is a lot of skill position players in this class that absolutely have opportunity to grow. And they absolutely go with Xavier Worthy, as you said, Donnie Mitchell, another Texas receiver who was at Georgia, transferred over. But actually, a guy I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors from LSU. I think that he's going to be taken here as well. I think he's going to be a good complement to kind of what CJ Stroud had playing with at Ohio State, and just a freak athlete as well. So I think that's going to be the route that they could go here. Could go a lot of different ways. Absolutely could go a lot of different ways, but I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, no, I think he's a really solid wide receiver prospect. So definitely could be the next great LSU wide receiver that we see. Up next are the Saints. Oh, we lost Tyler. You there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't know why I just booted you. But
who cares?
all right. All right. Up next are the Saints. They could really go a lot of different ways here. They just invested in Derek Carr. That offensive line seems to be doing pretty well. The wide receiver group is young with Chris Olave, and then who's the new guy that they just brought in?
Oh crap!
I know, crap. I'll cut this out too.
I don't have any of my stuff in front of me either.
I don't either.
A.T. Perry's who they drafted.
Yeah, actually, did they?
They got Kendry Miller.
I did get Kendry Miller,
but in the free
I guess
agency,
that's it.
They didn't really get anybody.
Oh well,
they have another guy as well.
Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Traquan Smith, Brian Edwards, Shaq Davis.
Okay. Yeah. We can honestly, even with my internet cutting out, like, let's just start back over here to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on now to the Saints here at pick 20. They could really go a lot of different ways, I think, in this draft. They don't need a whole lot. I think you could definitely see them investing in that wide receiver room because Chris Olave is the youngest, but Michael Thomas definitely on the latter part of his career. Um, there's a lot there's a lot that they could do. So one of the things I think that they could improve upon is maybe that linebacking core, but there's not a whole lot of linebackers.
They can absolutely they can do that in the second, third round.
Yeah, they could definitely do that in the second or third round. Let's grab Kingsley Suamatai. I don't know how you pronounce that last name. Just increase that tackle depth. I think will come in and be a pretty solid starter for them day one.
I like it. I like it a lot. So moving on now to Miami, I would honestly think that offensive line would be a key here, but you just took Kingsley, and I don't know if maybe taking Cooper Beebe right now, the top guard, if they'd want to take a guard this early. Zion Nelson, maybe, but I think now you get to the point then where they'll be picking again. Might not be too big of a difference. However, though, I say that is the style of offense that Miami wants to run. And you look at their receivers now, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They just got Devin A. Chain that ran one of the fastest 40s in the combine. They want quick, speedy, fast guys. I think Xavier Worthy is going to kind of fit that bill because I mean, from Tyreek Hill's words, like from himself, I think he only has a couple more years in the NFL that he wants to keep playing. So if I'm remembering and read correctly, if he stays true to it, he's going to retire after this contract ends up. And I think he has 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah.
So getting a guy like Xavier Worthy, who is quick, speedy, and I think he kind of fit the offense that Mike McDaniels wants to run, get him kind of integrated into that system and can replace Tyreek Hill, I think would be huge. So Xavier Worthy here for me.
Yeah, I said this a little bit earlier in the video. I'm a little bit more bullish on Xavier Worthy. He has that Devontae Smith build, but I don't quite see the finesse and the elite skills that Devontae Smith displayed. And I'm a little nervous about him at the NFL level. However, if there's a scheme that he could thrive in, it would be that Shanahan style spread scheme. So I think that's a really solid fit there. As far as the Ravens go here at pick 22, one of the guys that I really like for them is JT Tuimoloau, the edge rusher from Ohio State, because he's 6'4", 275. He's going to give them a lot of strength and speed on that edge, but he can also kick in and be a 3-4 edge or a 4-3 edge, just kind of depending on whatever they're running that week. So I like that pick right there.
JT
Tuimoloau.
It brings me back to the TJ Hushmazode.
Yeah.
TJ Hujamama. JT Tumaluma. Okay, perfect. So, all right, now on to the Chargers here. And to me, this is now where the top running back is going to come off the board here because Austin Eckler is getting up there in age. They've already started contract issues as well. They have addressed it a little bit, but over these past couple of drafts, but not with people that I personally am as impressed with. And you come to this pick here and you look at this team and how this offense is set up and like they're ready for a win now. And to me, I think they're going to go with the top running back up their eyes. But to me personally, right now, the top running back is Blake Corum, but I actually am just going to piss off Wolverines fans. I'm going to go with Travion Henderson, actually running back from Ohio State. I think he has a lot of potential. We haven't seen nearly as much from him. Just because, especially last year, he was hurt a decent bit. If I'm remembering my running backs correctly, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because Ohio State had a lot of hurt running backs. But I think he has the most upside, and I think if he could stay healthy for a whole year, we're going to see how truly dominant he can be. And potentially even if utilized correctly and seeing how a complete gadget weapon like a Bijan Robinson type guy, if he can be that, I think running backs will start to go up a little bit sooner because it totally opens up the offense as well. If you can have a running back who can do everything out of the backfield, like line up in the slot. And if Henderson can stay healthy, I think he can show that and then kind of increase his draft capital from here.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I like that pick a lot. I do like Blake Corum a lot, so I don't know if I would go as far as putting Travion Henderson over him, but
It's going to be very controversial. Leave a
yeah,
comment in the chat on who do you think should be the first running back taken off the board, and also you have to say your school that you support, because I mean, if you say Blake Corum, then you're obviously a Wolverine fan.
yeah, exactly. So, at 24, Cowboys are picking here. I think you look at this secondary, and Trayvon Diggs, I believe, is coming up on a contract. Stephon Gilmore's 32, and I think they're going to want to strengthen that up a little bit. Javon Bullard from Georgia, coming from a premier program. Cowboys love to invest in those. So I really like him here. He's going to take over that Keely Ringo number one corner spot. But I think he's better than Keely Ringo in the sense that he has a lot more lateral ability and the ability to stick with receivers throughout the entirety of the route after their breaks. So I like that pick there. I think that adds pretty good corner depth there as well.
Yeah, I like it. Moving on now to the Packers' second pick. And now, who did they take with their first pick overall? I'm trying to remember now. Or I guess sixth. They took a tackle.
Olu Fashanu, yeah, the tackle.
Olu Fashanu. So I think here, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, I just have a feeling that they're going to want to address the secondary position as well. And I'm looking at this right now, and I know we had Riley Moss taken off, got drafted this year. I think that, in my opinion, Cooper DeJean might potentially be just as good, if not even better, than Riley Moss here. And I think that they're going to want to address that secondary position again. And also, they love taking people from Iowa in the first round. So, going to take Cooper DeJean here and then get him on the opposite side of Jair Alexander.
Yeah, no, I like that. Eric Stokes has somewhat worked out, but maybe not lived up to the hype that they wanted to. So I like that pick there. Definitely adding to depth there. At 26, the Lions are up on the board, so who knows what the hell's going to happen here. But Punter. I think you look at their first round picks, Sam Laporta, or not Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, then Sam Laporta and Brian Branch. I think that's a really solid foundation. And I think some of their offensive lineman members are getting older. And this is where I'm going to have Cooper Beebe coming off the board. He's a really physical offensive lineman. I think he's going to strengthen up those trenches. You want to keep that offensive line stout. And I think investing here with this guard, I think it would be a really solid option.
I like it. And especially too, Evan Brown left. And I believe he went to the Seahawks. He went to the Seahawks. He was the guard for the Lions this year. So interesting to see how they replace him. And so if it doesn't work out, then I think he could absolutely slide into that right guard position. So moving on now. Oh, let me make sure I mark that as well. Moving on now then to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And honestly, so many different ways that they could go here. They're not going to go running back because they just took Tank Bigsby. And so now they're kind of set in the backfield as well. I absolutely think that they are set on receiver. It's not a tight end that I see that would be worthy of a pick here that they couldn't maybe take later on. And so I'm honestly just going to go with the top player on the board right now. Go with Jerson Newton, defensive interior from Illinois. Kind of keep defensive line beefy and strong. That's where you win a lot of these games. So,
yeah, no, definitely. I think he's definitely beefy and strong, so he'll help that out. I think he's a pretty solid interior pass rusher. I think you get his athleticism next to Trayvon Walker's.
Yeah,
then that could turn into a pretty scary pass rushing
absolutely
duo.
Yeah. So. Maryland agrees with you as well. So
Maryland. I thought you said Maryland, like the state. I was like
Maryland.
I don't see the correlation there, but
that's my southern accent.
So next up, Buffalo Bills. To me, the biggest weakness of this offense is that offensive line, and they didn't really address the tackle position. I know they got Osiris Torrance, the guard, but I just think keeping Josh Allen upright in the pocket will be good for this team. So investing in Zion Nelson here, tackle for Miami, really solid guy. Didn't have the greatest season this year, but had a really good 2021, and I think is going to be looking for a bounce back year in 2023.
I like it. Going with Zion here. Let me get that. I just passed that. Actually, there you go. So moving on now to the Philadelphia Eagles. And so one thing I think that they're going to be doing here, and so they did trade for DeAndre Swift. I believe that this is where Blake Corum could come off the board kind of be the physical running back that they need, be like kind of their main running back, but they like to have a running back by committee. I don't think DeAndre Swift's going to be the long-term answer. Neither is going to be Rashad Penny. And I think Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott are exactly what they need them to be. It's just those guys that come in and provide good production and while giving their main running back a break. Well, I think Blake Corum can come in and be that Miles Sanders. He can run for the 1,200 yards, but also catch balls out of the backfield as well and develop that. And so I know they just traded for DeAndre Swift, but they gave up, like, I think just a 4th rounder, I believe, in this year's, or maybe even like the 2025 class. So I don't think he's a long-term solution. I think they're just going to have a full, whoever's in the backfield is like, we expect you to go get 3 or 4 yards behind this offensive line. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that they're going to go with Blake Corum here because that's going to be kind of one of the key foundations of this Eagles offense as they keep moving forward.
Yeah, no. So I thought they would be in play for Bijan Robinson in the 2023 draft. Falcons end up taking him at 8. Eagles don't get a chance at him. I think Blake Corum would fit in really well into that system. So here I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas. I think 2nd Texas wide receiver taken. Yeah, Xavier Worthy.
Yep.
So he's a little bit bigger, 6'4", 190, pretty slight frame. However, oh God, well, I can't believe I'm Brandon Ayuk. That's what I'm trying to think of. Brandon Ayuk is coming into a contract year, and I think they're just going to probably let him walk because I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign all of those guys. So I think he's a sleeper trade target at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
but
it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Adonai Mitchell can come in and replace some of that role and be that speedy outside wide receiver that they might lose if Ayuk is to leave.
Yeah. It's weird saying this because I absolutely know that Deebo Samuel is a receiver. He has WR next to his name. But it's like, I don't really consider him because he's not like – he's now like the new kind of gadget player. He's like – they have perfected his role kind of within the team. And so I kind of look at it as Brandon Ayuk is our only true traditional receiver that consistently goes and runs out routes and everything like that.
Yeah.
I know Deebo is a receiver, but like they can utilize him so much but going and getting just that other consistent receiver that I think Adonai Mitchell could come in. I think he'd absolutely come in and replace Ayuk if they were to move on from him, or if they wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
Then I think he'd be a great compliment on the opposite side of him as well. So
yeah, no,
and also too, the first round pick that we've done since for them in a long time. Since the
3rd for pick Trey Lance.
Yeah. So first serious pick of ours for the 49ers in a long time. So moving on now to the Bengals here. So many different routes I think that they can go. Going with Myles Murphy here in the first round. And so of this past draft. And I think they address secondary a little bit, but I think that they can do a lot better. And I think Denzel Burke here is going to be, just sitting at Ohio State, in-state boy. I think that that's going to be a great pick for him.
No, yeah, definitely. Ohio State has been pumping out corners for years. They've probably hit a little bit of a dry spell. I would think you could call it that with their corners, Sean Wade being one that hasn't quite stuck to the NFL. So I like that. And then to kind of close everything out, I'm going to go with I don't want to pick another tackle. I'm going to go with Rome Odunze, or Rome Odunes, however you want to pronounce it.
That was exactly the guy I was thinking of.
So he's like 6'3", 200. He's more of a traditional X receiver, but man, I just loved watching him play. Michael Penix Jr. and him had a fantastic connection. He separates well. He does really well in contested catch situations, and I think they get a pretty solid wide receiver here at the 32nd pick.
Especially, too, if you look at their wide receiver room right now.
Yeah.
In this scenario, they would have just won another Super Bowl, so they probably don't really need too many other receivers. But in general, though, like, you have Kadarius Toney being their number one. You still have Sky Moore. They just drafted Rashee Rice. Like, not horrible receivers, but, like, Rome Odunze can come in and it's like, let's say one of those guys goes down, he can go in and replace their production.
Oh, easily.
Obviously, all those receivers are different. They have different skill sets, so to say. I'm not saying that all of those are one and the same type of receivers. However, though, like you're not expecting 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard receiving
Yeah.
seasons from them. Everything still runs through Travis Kelce. And so you just need all those guys to have 600 to 900 yards. And
Yeah.
Rome Dunes, I think, coming in that rookie year, I think would be perfect for that system.
No, definitely. And they did just get Rashi Rice, but I think MVS is going to be on his way out pretty soon. And then they have
Yeah.
Sky Moore. So then you have a young trio of wide receivers. Especially, I think also too, you need to invest in that pass catcher position because Travis Kelce's getting up there in age. So this was our first 2024 mock draft. It's really far away, almost a year, but honestly, I'm really excited for this class. I think this is going to be a really fun draft to analyze. I have a feeling that we're going to get a third quarterback prospect kind of thrown up into the mix to be a potential top 5 pick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it'll be quite to the Joe Burrow level because that's pretty hard, right? You have a guy who's
literally comes out of nowhere.
Comes out of nowhere and then becomes the first overall pick. But I definitely think we could get a Anthony Richardson type rise out of a player this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, shoot, I was just looking at it right there. I think, let me see. You have Cameron Ward that comes out. Let me pull up here some of just the top names. Bo Nix was a guy that we didn't talk about. You still have J.J. McCarthy, who we can see. I think a serious sleeper as well. Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. Tyler Van Dyke also from Miami. I mean, there's a lot of good names that.
One of the guys that I like was KJ Jefferson, super athletic.
He wasn't on
quarterback
this list,
from Arkansas.
Another guy, I think I mentioned Cameron Ward already from Washington State. Some other athletic guys. So
Shader Sanders, Deion Sanders kid from Colorado.
It's going to be interesting. Colorado prospects now. Let's give it a couple of years. We're going to be saying some Colorado kids that come out. So, absolutely, I completely agree. Especially also too going back to the conversation from earlier is if you go and look at the teams in this scenario, who is in the top 10, they all need quarterbacks. They are all going to need quarterbacks in this scenario. Washington, Sam Howell did not work out if they're picking 5th overall. Tampa Bay, they did take a quarterback. They're going to be taking a quarterback. It's just depending on where they pick. I'm going to bet that Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield cannot win 5 games this year. So, and then we could go down the list. So definitely going to be some more quarterbacks that rise up. There's always people like that just make that huge developmental step. So, and shoot, Quinn Ewers, I think he's a redshirt sophomore. So I think he still has a couple more years left, technically, if he doesn't want to come out. So maybe he's not even
in this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, this class is going to be really interesting to see. I think already you look at the top 10, right? Like Marvin Harrison Jr. clearly would have been the best wide receiver in this class in 2023, right? Like by a long shot.
Oh, yeah.
And then Caleb Williams and Drake May are, I think, equivalent to Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, right? I think as prospects, Caleb Williams and Drake May might be better than CJ Stroud. I think they're on par with Bryce Young, right?
Well, but they don't come with, maybe talent-wise, but Bryce Young has it's weird saying injury concerns in like a futuristic type way, just because no one is.
Well, Caleb Williams and Bryce Young are about the same size.
I thought Caleb Williams was closer to 6 feet.
I mean, Bryce Young was 5'11".
No, I thought Bryce Young was like 5'9".
Yeah, I think it was like 5'10" and a half or something.
Was that with cleats on?
Maybe.
5'10" is what it says
5'10",
on Google.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, then let's look up Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams height 6'1".
Oh, okay.
Does not.
So
say
I guess you just look smaller than.
Well, shoot. When you're around 6'7" offensive lineman, yeah. So
yeah, okay. So, I guess Caleb Williams would have been the best quarterback prospect in this year's class as well if he'd come out.
Nothing against, and obviously this is all projection, and we have a lot more information now on Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. So as it says, all projection, but I think that these two quarterbacks are more generational than what we've seen from this QB class.
Yeah.
That's
I
all
think if you're
projection,
looking,
and it's just and so a lot can change now. I'm really looking forward to the end of this season,
yeah,
and then we can come back to this video. We'll do a reaction video to kind of our picks and kind of
yeah,
what I'm saying right there. Let's see if Buccaneers can win more than 5 games this year. But it's like they already have so much film on top of it. And same with like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, yes. But there are clear questions and flaws with both of their games.
yeah,
Not as much with Bryce Young, but more like just his height because it is kind of a little unprecedented with him being selected.
yeah. No, definitely. But like I think if I were to rank them based off of this last season, it would be Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Drake May, CJ Stroud, right?
Yeah. And also
Uh,
Caleb Williams won the Heisman over both those guys. So it's the
2 years.
this past year.
Oh, that was this year. 2 years ago, Bryce Young won it.
Yeah.
But no, and like I just think it's really interesting to look at this class and kind of compare it because Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu would have been regarded in the same way as Peter Skoronski and Paris Johnson.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers clearly would have been the best tight end in what was already one of the most loaded tight end classes we've seen in a long time, as well as Jared Verse, and then who's the other edge rusher?
Dallas Turner from Alabama.
Yeah, Dallas Turner,
So,
right?
and that's what I think, and that's what with this class, you already we can look at the potential of the tackles.
Yeah,
Now you have that tight end. Now you have a couple of top receivers. You already have a top
yeah,
receiver. Now you have a couple of guys that with a lot of potential to escalate them their way up into the top.
yeah.
You obviously now you have the QBs. This class has a potential and can be very eerily similar to that Trevor Lawrence class.